Welcome back. In this session, we'll talk about AWS backup. We have been discussing how AWS backup allows us to take backup of compute, storage, and database workload in the previous sessions. In this session, we are going to talk we are going to see a demo or step-by-step instructions on how to take a backup and also how to do a restore of S3 bucket. So when it comes to restoration, we have option to either restore the complete S3 bucket, or you can also create a complete new bucket and restore the existing backup, or you can also do a object level restore, which is item level restore also can be done. So we'll see that a demo in a short while. But prior to that, as you know, AWS backup, it is a managed backup service from AWS, and you can use this service to do a centralized backup of multiple different AWS products and services across the AWS account and region. And now in the recent past, they've also added a lot of new functionalities. You can take backup and then keep it in a different region, which we call it as cross-region backup. You can also do a cross-account backup. So AWS has got a lot of centralized option. And the biggest benefit is that this is a managed backup service where you don't have to really think about the operating system, the backup software, the backup agent installation, and all those things. So everything comes as a service. So AWS manages the operating system backup and then the backup licensing, the backup media server, and all those stuff. So here we need to just configure the backup for the workload that we want to protect. Either it can be an entire EC2 instance, or it can be an EBS volume, or it can be an EFS or FSX file system, or you can take the S3 bucket level backup. So there are many different compute, storage, and even database workload that are supported, including if you look at the list here, it supports wide range of products. You can take backup of DynamoDB, Aurora, RDS. So some of them are cross-region, some of them are cross-account. And you can also configure lifecycle management in order to do cost optimization. So when you want to store some data for a longer duration, you can also move the backup to either cold storage or archive storage so that you get some cost benefit out of it. And as usual, like any other AWS product, this product also has got a lot of integration towards monitoring, logging, and then you also have integration for storing your encryption keys. So it is very much integrated to CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and the KMS. So it is very popular service through which you can just schedule the backup whenever you want, or you can also trigger the on-demand backup based on the application or the business requirement. You can go and take either on-demand, or you can also do a scheduled recurrent backup. So we'll see how to do that. So I've got a AWS account created, and I've got some AWS S3 buckets. So let's go and look at what we have in the S3 console. So we got some S3 bucket here, and most of them are empty buckets. So now this one, the stand backup demo, is an empty S3 bucket, and we have got some buckets with some content. So here you can see there are some image files, PNG type, JPEG, and then you also have a text file. So this is the bucket that we can target to take the backup, and we can also try to restore into a complete new S3 bucket. And also we can try to do an object level restore. So in order to take the backup, you have to go to the backup console. You can just say backup on the search menu here, and it opens up the AWS backup console. Under this, you have multiple different sub menu, and the main dashboard gives you a clear idea on what are the important things that you need to consider. Backup plan is all about how frequently you want to take the backup and what time the backup should run, because it should not impact your business duration or business hours for your application. So generally we schedule the backup during the non-production hours, and we have a maintenance window if in case required. Okay, and also how long we need to retain the backup. Some backups might have to be stored for multiple years based on the legal compliance requirement. And you can also enable lifecycle rules in order to move the backup into the cold tier or the archive tier so that you can save some cost. So here, the next one is the backup vault. This is where you store and organize your backups. You can create multiple backup vault for each of your workload category or for each application or each business unit. But if in case if you are not creating a separate backup vault for each of your workload or each of your categorization, you can go and use the default backup vault that can store all your backup related content. So this is just a container or a kind of logical folder where you store the backup related content. Now, if you want to schedule the backup, you can also go and schedule it. Or if you want to just go and trigger an on-demand backup, this is where you go and do it. You can just select the protected resources, create an on-demand backup. In this demo, we are going to see S3 related backup. In the previous session, we have seen EC2, EBS volume, FSX backups, and EFS backup. So if in case you have missed that, you can go and watch those. So it covers a lot of different backup resources, including VMware virtual machine, and then even you can take the CloudFormation template and all those stuff. Now let's go and select the S3 backup. So the resource type is S3. The bucket stand bucket 222 is the one which I'm going to take the backup. And now it gives me two options, whether I want to do it now or I want to schedule it for a later time. So if in case you want to do it for a particular window, for example, application team might tell us they're going to plan or execute the activity around 8 p.m. You can also try and do this backup around 6 or 7 p.m. so that you have most of the data that is covered under this backup. So since this is a managed backup service from AWS, multi-tenant model works here or applies here. So every customer will have their own backup schedule at a particular interval, and all the jobs will be in the queue. And based on the queue size or queue priority, the backups will get executed. So here, if I say create backup now, the job should start within an hour from now. So it is not guaranteed that the job will start immediately. It might take some time, and even the backups might run for a while based on the storage IOPS or the throughput that is allowed actually. And here I don't want to store the backup always. I just want to retain it only for 1 day, since it is a test demo backup. I just want to delete it right after the backup is complete. And I can also use the new vault, or I can also use any existing vault that I have in my account. You can create a new backup vault by just giving a new name. And here, this is where the permissions are provided. In on-premises, we generally don't use any user account or a specific individual's ID because people engineer will change. And for such cases, we generally use service account or service role in the premises. But now in the cloud, we create an IAM service role that will have permissions to just do the backup and recovery or restore. I'll show you how exactly or what are the different permissions that this particular IAM role will have or will possess. Okay, I'll show you that in IAM console. For now, I'm just going to trigger the backup, and the backup has got initiated. And see, if you go inside the backup, you will also see whether the backup is currently running and what role is being used here. If I click on this IAM role, it will take me to the IAM console, where I can go and check what kind of permissions that this particular backup default service role has got. So it has got permission to do the S3 backup and S3 restore. So it is purpose built, or it is only limited to those permissions. So it will not have any other permissions or any other resource level access. It is only intended to do backup and perform the restoration. Only those limited activities can be done using this backup service account or the IAM role. So the backup is currently running. It will take a few minutes, as it says here. Okay. So if I just go to the backup schedule, you can just see that. So now, once the backup is completed, you will get a confirmation, or you can go and check into the vault. If you go to the backup vault, you can see different recovery point ID for each of the time that you have taken backup. Now, if I want to use this backup or recovery point to restore the content, I can just select this and then say go to actions and restore it. Or else also I can just click on this and you can go and say restore. So while restoring, it gives me two options: either restore the entire bucket or do a item level restore. So let's try and do the entire bucket first. And I'm going to create a new bucket, complete new bucket for restoration. I'll call it a stand bucket 333. And then I'll restore it. Let's try that. And I'll also show you how to do item level or object level restore. Same way, go to the backup vault, go to the recovery point object or ID. And then from here, I can also go and check what are the files that are available, so that I can just say, I can restore some limited files. I'll just copy this file name And we need to follow a specific um, procedure here. So when I go and do item level restore, it gives some example here. See, it has to look like this. So it has to have the bucket name and the object name or the file name. The bucket name is span bucket 222, and the object name is this one. I'll restore a couple of files. Okay, in order to restore multiple separate individual files, you can restore up to 5 objects at a time. So I can just give similar format here, and then call this file stand file2.txt. I'm just going to restore only these 2 files. So where exactly I want to restore, whether I want to restore it to the same source bucket or create a new bucket or use any existing bucket to restore. I'll restore it under stand backup demo. So this particular bucket is now in fact empty. It doesn't have any content. It will have the 2 files that we are restoring in a short while. And also the other restoration, it will create a new bucket called stand bucket 333, and it will restore the content here. So let's give it a couple of minutes. So the restoration will take some time. So now let's go and restore. So we have done 2 different
This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
ஓகே, பேக்கப் ஜாப் இன்னும் அது ரன் ஆகிட்டு தான் இருக்கு. ஸோ ஐ குட் சி ஸ்டேட்டஸ் இஸ் ரன்னிங். ஆல்மோஸ்ட் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 100% கம்ப்ளீஷன் கிட்ட இருக்கு. ஸோ இன்னொரு பேக்கப் ஜாப் ஆல்மோஸ்ட் இட் இஸ் ஆல்சோ நியரிங் 100%. ஸோ பேக்கப் ரெஸ்டோரேஷனை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் கொஞ்சம் டைம் எடுக்கும். ப்ளஸ் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 99%க்கு அப்புறம் தான் ஆக்சுவல் ஃபைல்ஸை வந்து நம்ம இங்கே பார்க்க முடியும். ஸோ இதில் வந்து பார்த்தோம் அப்படின்னா நம்ம 2 ஃபைல் தான் இதில் ரெக்கவர் பண்ண சொல்லியிருந்தோம். ஐட்டம் லெவல் ரெஸ்டோர் ஸ்டாண்ட் பேக்கப் டெமோல. ஸோ இதில் ஒரு ஃபைல் ஆல்ரெடி ரெக்கவர் ஆயிடுச்சு, இன்னொரு ஃபைல் ரெஸ்டோர் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. இதுலயும் அதே மாதிரி தான். ஓகே, நிறைய ஃபைல்ஸ் இதில் ரெக்கவர் ஆயிடுச்சு. ஆல்மோஸ்ட் வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 3 பிஎன்ஜி அண்ட் 1 டெக்ஸ்ட் ஃபைல் வந்துருச்சு. இன்னும் ஒரே ஒரு JPEG ஃபைல் மட்டும்தான் இன்னும் ரெக்கவர் ஆகல. ஸோ ஸ்டில் ரெஸ்டோரேஷன் இஸ் ஹேப்பனிங். ஓகே, ஸோ இதில் போய் பார்ப்போம். பேக்கப் ஜாப் ஃபுல்லாக கம்ப்ளீட் ஆயிடுச்சு அப்படின்னா தென் கம்ப்ளீட்டாக நமக்கு எல்லா ஃபைல்ஸும் இதில் பார்க்க முடியும். ஸோ இந்த பேக்கப் டெமோவில் நமக்கு 2 ஃபைல் தான் கேட்டிருந்தோம். 2 செலக்டிவ் ஃபைல்ஸ் மட்டும் தான், ஒரு பிஎன்ஜி ஃபைல், ஒரு டெக்ஸ்ட் ஃபைல் கேட்டிருந்தோம். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி தான் நம்ம வந்து பார்த்தீங்கன்னா பேக்கப் எடுத்துட்டு நம்ம ரெக்கவர் பண்ணி ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ணலாம். ஆல்மோஸ்ட் எல்லா ப்ராடக்ட்ஸ் அண்ட் சர்வீசஸும் அட்லீஸ்ட் 1 or 2 டைம்ஸ் ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ணீங்க அப்படின்னா நீங்கள் கிளவுட் ஆப்ரேஷன்ஸ் டீமில் வந்து ரெக்கவரி ரெஸ்டோர் ரெக்வஸ்ட் வரும்போது குயிக்காக நீங்கள் ரெக்கவர் பண்ண முடியும். ஸோ தேங்க்யூ ஃபார் லிசனிங். I'll stop the recording.